So, Jill, I just really want to say, actually, it's so, so nice to see you. It's been a while.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's nice that you're here to tell this story. It's an incredible story. And I'm quite looking forward to hearing all the bits and pieces of the greatness of our Saviour, and
Absolutely.
what he has done for you. So, yeah, so I think I'd like us to start from the beginning if we can.
Mm.
Maybe could you just tell us who you work for and really um, how you came to being aware that you were sick?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, as most people probably know, I work at the City Hospital, and I've been asked quite a few times, where did you get this from? And because it's so everywhere, I wouldn't like to pin it down to say, oh, I got it at work, because you don't really know, but there will be a high chance because I work in a hospital.
Mm.
And I think I was ill for for a little while, actually. I just didn't know. I did have a cough, but everybody gets a cough, and I don't go off work with a cough. I did actually come out in a rash of blisters, and I didn't put these things together. And people had said to me, well, have you changed your washing powder? Have you used a different cream? Which I hadn't, but I've now since shown the doctors it turned out to be a symptom. The whole of my body blistered.
Mm.
And that was a few weeks before. And then I did have the vaccination, but
Right.
I personally, on the Monday, but I personally don't tie that together with being ill. I want to make that clear.
Okay.
I've got no agenda on who should or shouldn't take the vaccine. It was just there because we work in a hospital, and it was, urgent that we got cover, if you
Yeah.
like.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, so I went along and took that. And it was the following Sunday that I started to feel just a little bit under the weather. And then, not all of a sudden, but gradually it built up that I didn't even want the dog near me, and anybody knows me, that dog lives on me.
Absolutely.
I got double vision, and then I knew something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw two of everything. It was really quite bizarre.
Okay. So you started to get these symptoms. Did you ring 111? I mean,
Yeah, on the Sunday.
you'll know the process better than any of
Yeah.
us because you work for the
Hello,
NHS.
it's Jill. Not feeling well. Yeah.
To tell us how that happened, because just a quick one, but I was kind of not poorly, I had toothache, but when you ring 111, there's a series of questions that they ask you to see
Yeah,
whether you fit in a criteria of
they
being
do.
worthy of being seen, as it were,
Yes,
because of the quotas. Yeah, go on.
yeah. Yeah, so excuse me. Because of the double vision, I knew then that something was wrong, and I just explained the symptoms to them. Yes, they did ask pertinent questions, and straight away they said, I think you need to present yourself at the Queen's. And ambulances were taking 4 hours, so Andrew popped me down.
Okay.
But it was funny when I got there, because I'm not saying there's bouncers on the door, but there are doormen, if you like. So
yes.
there's a security, higher security these days. And we parked right near the ambulances, because I really was. I couldn't park in the car park and walk. I was getting quite ill now. And when I fell out of the car and the man saw me, went, oh, fetch her in. I thought, oh, it must be bad. I must look terrible.
So, oh my goodness. So you took yourself to the hospital.
Yeah,
Obviously, they did they admit you straight away?
yeah, they were
Yeah.
waiting for me.
Okay, this is because of the NHS
Yeah,
111 call.
they rang ahead.
Okay. And then, oh my goodness, then I understand, obviously, for a little while you was there, but then they put you into an induced coma.
Yeah.
Tell us about that then.
Well, yeah, I was in A&E for whatever, they were waiting for doctors to come. I had a COVID test, and yes, it was positive. And for some strange reason, there are different strains going about. And it's on my discharge summary, a serious case of COVID.
Okay.
So it was obviously that second strain that we heard about.
Right.
It was far more, what's the word, virulent?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So then, yes, they did admit me to, I don't know Queen's very well. It wasn't straight away into a coma. They admitted me to a ward, but then that was it. I really did start to feel ill. I had a shower because I thought, I don't think I'm going to get a shower for a while. And I remember leaving the door unlocked. Your body goes into awareness that something's wrong, you know? So I didn't lock the door just in case someone needed to get in. I managed to have a shower and get out. And I really don't feel very well. So then all the consultants, the intensive care consultant came, and I didn't get any, I believe, any special treatment, but when they knew I worked there, it's a bit like any corporation, like the fire brigade look after
look after their own.
They do, but I think
Yes.
it's motivational as well. It made me
Yes.
feel, because the intensive, well, it did actually go around the stroke secretarian, but it is quite, when it is somebody that works there, I don't know, there's a camaraderie, isn't there?
Yeah, Jill, I don't think anybody's going to blame you for that. I think we would expect the surgeons and the doctors to be looking after one of their own, because you're family, aren't you? You're family. Yeah.
Well, that's what she said, actually. It was very, very emotional. And she said to me, do you realise you're very, very poorly? And I looked round because I thought I didn't feel that bad. And I said, well, I guess so now. She said, do you know you've got COVID? And I said, well, I do now. And she said, you're very, very ill. And I said to her, am I going to die? And she said, well, you're young, you're fit, and you're one of ours, and we're going to fight for you. And it made me cry.
Wow.
Again, it was motivational, we're going to do this, come on. I asked that because sadly I haven't made a will. My mind, nothing wrong with my mind. I was typing out, Andrew, do this, do that, and like Nigel, these are my wishes. It won't be legally binding, but this is what I want.
Oh, bless you. But as you just said that, the scripture that comes to my mind is, I shall not die but live, was what the psalmist said, and you're here to tell that story.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
And also because you were brave enough to ask, am I going to die?
Yeah.
Is it
I'm
because
just practical.
Do you think though it's because so much of the problems we'd experienced and the thousands of people that were dying, it was automatically in your mind that you thought, actually, I'm not going to come through this?
I thought there was a good chance, because by this time I was feeling really quite not myself, really quite poorly. Yeah, and I knew it wasn't a normal ward. I do recognise the wards. There was no windows. It was a COVID ward.
Okay.
Because that's what they've converted theatres into COVID wards, because they just run out of space.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What sort of categorises them putting you into an induced coma compared to other people? Is it just because you were so poorly?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember she didn't, I think she sought Andrew's permission because he's next of kin. I wasn't totally out of it, but they were, polite and kind enough to tell me everything. But I was just like, oh, I'm in your hands, whatever. And she came to say, look, you're really, really poorly now, and we're going to put you to sleep. And I kept thinking about dogs. Would have put dogs to sleep? They're going to kill me. And she said, we're going to help your body to try and recover. So we're going to put you to sleep. She didn't say a coma. For me, she said, we're going to put you to sleep. But I didn't know what she meant.
Right.
So then they were, now I realise, because Andrew told me that they converted the theatres. So they wheeled me down, and I now realise it was a theatre, because it all looked very strange when you're laying down. It was into the theatre. So I was one of those lined up like on the telly in a coma, intubated.
So was there several people there as well?
There was a few people in the room I was, but I was in the I bet I was asleep before I got into the but I was in the receiving bit, and there was a few people in there in various states. Yeah. But no fear, Dashley. No fear. Maybe that's my way of looking at things, and it's practical. And to be honest, strangely enough, it brought all my job to life. because I've typed about this and listened to this, and then I was watching it real life.
Yes.
I just tried to make things curious and interesting, as though I was doing a journey. Otherwise, it would have been too frightening, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't recall anything in the sleep
No,
period? Nothing?
no, not
Okay.
at all.
And did you know how long they were going to put you to sleep for?
No, there was no more discussion. I just got wheeled down to theatre. And I have to say, the staff there are beyond words. They're so funny. They make it like it's every day. This is just all normal. And, you're not on your own. And they're just beyond words. They make me cry when I remember the things that they did. They were so kind and just made it ordinary, a very unordinary experience, quite everyday-ish. Yeah.
Okay. So then, okay, take me to you woke up.
Yes. During that period of time, though, my kidneys, I only found this out afterwards, my kidneys broke down.
Right.
I had some kind of poisoning, infection at least. So basically, COVID, it breaks your body down, your organs stop. And Andrew got the phone call saying that it's not good news, brace yourself, don't leave the house, we want you to be near the phone so we can contact you. We're giving it 24 to 48 hours to bring me out the coma. And just be aware, they just was preparing him.
Wow.
Which I think must have been, I was asleep. It was nothing to me, but it must have been horrific for him.
So is it normal then for the period of coming out of sleep to consciousness? Is that the critical time that they're mentioning?
I believe so, I believe so. It took me 2 weeks to come out the coma, and it's normally a couple of days.
Wow.
And she said, but we are praying for her, and that's where they left it. The consultant said to her, we're praying for her.
Wow.
I know, so kind.
And you had, of course, a lot of people outside of your situation praying for you as well.
I think I was like, yes, I know her name. I know. So many people.
Oh, wow. So when you say 2 weeks, so it's sort of a gradual opening your eyes and just being observant, because I think we'd had a text message to say you'd opened your eyes, you were conscious, but of course you couldn't move. Or tell me about that state, because of course medically you know about these things. So what does the coma do for you?
Because you're immobile for such a long length of time, although it quite shocked me, for how long you've been moving around on this earth, for just a few weeks, your muscles go into like a paralysis.
Okay.
Because they've not been used. And from my shoulders down to my ankles, I couldn't move.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very, 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 very frightening. But in that meantime of coming out of the coma, a couple of people have said to me, we felt you'd gone, Jill. Spiritual people who would understand this. I said, well, it's funny you should say that, because I did go to heaven.
Wow. What? Sorry?
I went to heaven.
This is the 24-hour, 48-hour period where you're coming back to earth, as it were.
Yeah.
Tell me then. Okay, you went to heaven. Wow. Tell us about that.
Well, in this coma-like state, it just seemed all quite, not normal, but all of a sudden, I always remember Nathan saying this, we won't get on a bus and travel in a car, you just go. And I arrived at this. I often think as well, Yeshua shows you something that he knows you will understand like that. And it was half an arch. And I know it was an arch because the bricks, like around a church door, big brick, small brick, big, and I looked, I could only see half. And at the side of me was a very beautiful, radiant, fluffy, cloudy. I'm trying to use the words of something you can't describe. I was standing next to this huge, I didn't even know it was a figure or a person actually, just very pearlescent, very pure, very lightning white. And I did actually look up and I couldn't see the top, it was that big. And in front of this person was quite a few people, I don't know how many, and they were worshipping this person.
Wow.
And when I say worshipping, I mean rapturous worshipping. They were ecstatic. They were beyond themselves in rapture. And I'd like to think that I saw what I was looking for, people who I knew. And then kneeling at the foot of this person was Yeshua, who I more recognised because, well, I could see him, and you've been praying a long time. You build up a picture and a relationship with who he is, and he's recognisable to you, I think. And he was kneeling down and he didn't even look at me, he just inclined his head like that and just said, "Do you want to come home?" And I actually took a step back because I did realise what that meant.
Right.
But the place was so perfectly peaceful. Never, never, never will we experience that on earth, because there's always somebody fighting somewhere. It was just incredible. It was just absolutely perfectly serene and beautiful. And he is beautiful. So, so beautiful. His skin, that's what got me most. It's like somebody polished him. His skin was perfect. And it wasn't, I've thought about this since, it wasn't that he was an attractive man that would be attracted to in the normal sense. I think it was in here.
Mm-hmm.
You just yearn to be with him. It was bigger than attractiveness, if you know what I mean.
So do you think, as you were talking about, there's sort of lots of people worshipping, the Bible tells us, doesn't it, that, the angels will worship him and bow down, and glory and honor and praise will be given to him, and it's almost like the angels 24/7 will be continuing to worship. So it's interesting that you see yourself in heaven, and there is that conversation that you had almost with the Father or Yeshua or somebody. Do you want to come home? And you instantly knew what that meant. And so did you choose to come back, for want of a better expression?
I know. I stepped back and I thought, I've got to consider this, because there's a big part of me. All you do is walk forward and you're there. That's all you do. You walk through. And I was so kind of yearning to do that. But then I knew what it meant behind. And all the people, Andrew and family and Nigel and friends. And so I thought, you sure? With the free will you've given me, I give that decision back to you, because I can't make that decision. That's what I said. And that was the end of that encounter. And the next thing I knew, I was coming awake in the QMC.
Wow. Yeah. That is an incredible story. Wow. I'm kind of blown away.
I was.
with that. That's truly amazing. And yet, in a funny kind of way, I also recognise that it's appointed to everybody to die once, isn't it? That's what the scriptures tell us. But it obviously wasn't your time, because you came back. I mean, this is your story. Nobody can refute that. Nobody can argue against it or for it, because you were the person who experienced that. And that for me is you sharing what you experienced. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
It's verbatim. I wouldn't make it up, because one day I'll be back there legitimately and I'll have to answer for myself.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you came back. Let me ask about, so the kidney situation. What happened? Was that before or after?
No, I didn't know. Obviously, I didn't know any of that. So as I came to, and you're on such strong medication, I've since learned you can have hallucinations, and weird dreams, and I really did. And I remember waking up, and there was seemed to be a lot of Asian people there. They were all different cultures, and I thought I was in Tenko because I just lay on this like bed. It's such a weird experience. And then the consultants who I'd previously saw, I started to recognise them, and they said, "Oh wow, you've given us a right fight or something like that." He said, and your kidneys stopped, and I was just nonplussed because I'd gone to sleep as a normal person, feeling a bit poorly, and woke up and couldn't move, and the kidneys had stopped, you know.
Wow. Mm.
And he said, he just looked at me, and my face must have been quizzical, and he didn't say any more. But all he said was, sorry, I didn't say any more after this. Yeah, your kidneys did stop. We put you on I don't know whether it was such as dialysis, but certainly a filter to make them work. And they spontaneously started. And I laughed because I knew where I'd just been. Oh, wow, that's a surprise.
And so here's a thing, Jill, just before you go on. You know, we often talk about the fact that we have healings and we have miracles. To me, seemingly, you are on a journey of healing, but you've had various miracles, like the kidney stopping and coming back to life, as it were.
Yeah.
That is a miracle.
Yeah, it is. I feel I'm on borrowed time. I'm on Yeshua's time now, because those doctors are absolutely stunning, amazing. No words. And they didn't give up. There was just no more they could do. My body was breaking down. So somebody made a decision, and I believe it was divinity. And I came back.
Yeah, it's almost like when you're out of yourself,
Yeah,
a greater power has to take over to
they couldn't do
intervene
it.
on your all their skill set, all their qualifications, their expertise
exactly
come to an end.
Yes.
And almost that Yahweh stepped in to intervene for you.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So then there was a period of starting to come awake, and there was and people have kept coming up to me, doctors and nurses, because obviously I was in a coma for probably, Andrew will be more correct, but around 4 weeks, and then the coming out time, so quite a while, and I've been nursed every day, and they've walked by and go, "Oh, you made it." I didn't know any of this. I thought, "Oh, what do you mean I made it? How rude. Fancy saying that to me." But, and then another one had come along and said, "Oh, you're alive," or that kind of thing. What do you mean I'm alive? Because they'd seen how bad it was. And I kind of got the gist of the severity then, that something had gone off.
And where the doctors felt that you were not coming through, you proved them, not you, but Yahweh did something, in you to show the world, actually. Yeah.
Don't forget, they're a year down the line now, and it's sort of a pattern, like people just go, and I'd heard of that myself. Your consultant would go down and look at a patient, deal with it. Next day they'd be gone. It was that quick, it's that rapid. It can be.
And can I just ask a question with regards, and you might not know this, but who says how long somebody stays in a coma? I suppose that's the question.
I don't really know. I think they turn down the medication that's put you in a coma and let you gradually come to. And hopefully you do come to, but I do believe there's a chance that you can't. I do believe. I think that I don't really know an awful lot about that.
Yeah, no, I was interested because just a few nights ago, Kate Galloway's husband Derek has been in a coma, hasn't he, for some extensive time. And he, we saw little bits of her story coming out, and I do wonder, how long does somebody stay in a coma before they sort of say the body can't react, the body can't recover, and therefore, we're going to stop the medication and that's it.
I think it's an individual thing, Dassler. Everybody seems to react differently. every the body reacts differently.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
So then I came out of that stage, but I couldn't speak because during this time, once this thing, what they said was the doctors noticed vital signs. So where they thought I was going to pack in, they noticed vital signs. It's like they jumped into action. I had a tracheostomy, and through there, that's where you breathe from, and a tube goes down into your lungs. It's a good job I didn't know any of this because I'm very claustrophobic. I had masks all over me. I'm so glad I was asleep. I would have been screaming.
Yeah.
It was a feeding tube, a jejunostomy, they call it, down my nose.
Okay.
Can't take it out for quite some time
Right.
because that's how they fed me. And I got wires that had been in there. I've got marks now. That's where they put wires in to deal with the dialysis, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Andrew had seen this. I obviously didn't, because they did a video call just for me to say hello. But I was very, very weak. I didn't use my phone. I couldn't pick the phone up, actually. It was too heavy.
Right.
And I had a tremor in both hands, which has subsided quite a lot, which is really good because they did consider I'd had a stroke or a mini stroke.
Right.
But I hadn't, I don't believe. But they did find a tiny blood clot in my brain. That's something else that COVID can do. But I'm on blood thinners. I'm ever so cold at the moment, and I've not been cold for years. I remember them saying that we couldn't get you back, and your temperature was so high. We couldn't control your temperature. And I thought, if you control my temperature, I'll give you money because I've not been able to do it for quite some time.
Oh dear, you're so funny.
I'm always on fire, but I'm not at the moment. I'm so cold.
Bless you. So now we're in this state of sort of post-COVID for you.
Yes.
And you're on a journey of gradual sort of healing.
Yeah.
So they gave you physio, is that right?
That hasn't. Yes, they did. Once I'd got to the city, I think initially it was just like wake up, recover, and be alert. I was very alert though. My mind, there was nothing wrong with my mind. I could hear every conversation, and I listened to everything. But it's a very frightening place to be because it's where all the emergencies come in. RIAU. So I saw some sites that they were aware. Apparently, you can suffer from PTSD when you've been there for a length of time, and also delirium. And once I heard that, I thought I was determined I was not going to suffer from that, because words have power over you, don't they?
Yes, they do.
I was determined, and I thought, no, I'm going to do that differently. And I won't come out of here. I'm just going to put it to one side. Otherwise, you're forever going to be ill, aren't you? But it was a mental battle began, and I felt sure, because some people they'd lost it and they were screaming out, "Leave me alone!" Nobody was there. No people were there. Stop it! Leave me alone! Don't do that. And I could very, very easily understand how they slipped into that. And I believe I've told somebody this, madness and insanity in the face, because you can't move, you can't do anything, you can't have a drink, you can't scratch your nose, you can't turn over. It's almost like living death. And you don't know how long that's going to go on for, and what's going to happen. Am I ever going to walk again? And the panic, because I couldn't move and I couldn't speak. So everything I did was, and some people understood and some didn't. And I asked for some anti-panic medication. I couldn't think of the name of it, but anyway, they did give me that. It calms your heart rate down, that fight and flight, the adrenaline.
Yes.
Slows it down. And so I think I was in that state for I think it was 3 weeks. And they put a little something on the tracheostomy that reverberates, so you can actually make a noise and speak. But as I sat there or laid there, and it was like Yeshua stood over me with a sword of fire drawn like that, and I felt really quite protected. And he's just said to me, I have given you a sound mind. And then I just relaxed because I felt him in these situations. You're so close to him. You have such experience of him. It's almost worth being in that position. I wouldn't advocate it, but it's such a close journey. It's nice. And I was in that state of just recovery. The consultants kept saying to me, "You're a textbook recovery. You're our star." I wasn't the star. I would have been along with that gentleman going a bit doolally. It was your sure. Everything was like swallowing test. Yep, she can swallow. Come off it. Oh, she's off the oxygen. I came straight off the oxygen. I wouldn't have been able to do that. It was a textbook recovery, one after the other. But when they took me off the ventilator, they put you on a little mask to get you back into the breathing state because the ventilator's been breathing for you. You have to be weaned off. And that was really frightening because it was like trying to breathe through a straw in thick fog. It was like that. And I'll tell you, this was funny. I remembered, and I've rang him actually because it was so big for me. Samuel, quite some years ago, I think I might have told you, but in Bulwer when we were practicing singing, he got us doing breathing exercises, and I was like, oh, all right, let's sing. You know, I wasn't into it at all, but I did what I needed to do. And all that night, I couldn't breathe very well. And I remembered what I said, Jill, in through the nose, out through the mouth, expand those lungs. And every single breath I took that night was to Samuel's words, every single breath, because I couldn't get through it. And I thought, well, it didn't do me much good for the singing, but it's hope now. Thank you, Samuel. Wait till I see you. It was very funny. 4 years later, it became relevant.
Oh, bless you.
So I just think, well, if that's Yeshua's decisions, he'll make your kidneys work. You can't fight him. You can't fight his decisions. If it's not, bring you back from the brink of death. He'll breathe ruach into you because very shortly, it only lasted one night, very shortly after I could breathe. Not necessarily unaided, but very quickly. And that was just him. Yeah.
And I noticed you've still got a cough. So how are your lungs at the moment?
Apparently, I asked about that. Is your lungs healing? Because there will be some damage from their intervention. You don't put a tube down and nothing happens.
Okay.
So it's just like if you've got a cut and it scabs over you and it's itchy, the lungs are the same apparently. So.
And are you doing some physio at the moment as well now you're home? It is nice that you're home.
I know, I blagged my way out there. I didn't want to stay in there any longer. I mean, I was medically fit in the end, but not physio fit. I can't walk properly yet. I couldn't walk at all when I came out. I got a similar frame. I can't get up and out of chairs, things like that. I can't move, turn over, but I can do some things now. So they didn't want to let me go, but I said, well, you could see patients coming in that needed the doctors, the nurse, and the medical side. And I'm laying here for 23 and a half hours to have half an hour physio. Why don't you send me home and I'll have physio in the community? So they're setting that up. It is a bit long-winded waiting, but I've been doing little bits myself. But it's a 6-week intensive course, so they come every day.
Wow.
And if I need any more, they then refer me on to long-term physio. It's going to be a journey.
And they don't know how long it takes an individual to... No, I suppose that's down to individual bodies, doesn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose if you're younger, I mean, I was never particularly fit anyway before, so I mean, I can't get out these sofas I'm sitting on, but I laughed. I went, well, I couldn't before, really. I always have to manoeuvre myself out because it's so low and squishy. But yeah.
I know. Fortunately, you live in a bungalow anyway, so that's quite good. Yeah. So you use the frame to go sort of to the kitchen and to the bedroom and the bathroom, I suppose.
Yeah, I can manoeuvre myself around there now. Yeah. But something else that struck me too when I was still in RAIU before I went to HDU. So they call it step down. So it meant you're on your journey home.
Okay.
The consultant came and sat down. He said, "Oh, Jill, you've been with us 37 days now. You're our longest person in here." And I thought, oh. And it just tickled something. And I thought, I wonder. And then he came back a few days later and he said, "Right, you've been here 40 days now and we're going to move you." And I went, 40 days and 40 nights. That's just like Jesus. He said, "Who is Jesus? That geezer in the Bible?" I went, "Yeah." I thought, I've done my wilderness experience. I'm off. 40 days and 40 nights.
Wow.
And then they sent me to the step down unit.
That's quite significant, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah. And along that journey, there was many a prayer and a thought and a closeness that was really quite exquisite, really. So after that, they then sent me to the city to start the journey of rehab.
And that's kind of where we're at the minute, isn't it, with regards to your story?
Yeah.
Although we suffer, Jill, and you will be the first person to declare that, have you considered my servant Jill rather than Job? You know, you can do all kinds of stuff to her, but actually I'm bringing her back to tell her story. And to me, that is truly, truly amazing. And I am grateful to have listened to you sharing your story and to see you actually looking well. You, Jill, shall not die, but she will live. And I suppose for those of us that are listening and listen to this interview, have we made preparation for a life to come? Because it can come to any of us at any moment, at any time.
Yeah.
Jill, as we're coming to the end of this talk, this chat with you, I want to hand over to you. Just say what you think people want to hear with regards to your story and what you think about Yahweh and your experience. Final words.
Well, I just want to share with people who haven't shared their life with him that he is real. Because I stood next to the Father and I interacted for a few brief seconds with the Saviour Yeshua. He's alive, he's there for us, he wants us to know him. He wants us to come and have a relationship with him and be with him. He showed me that this is home, this place that we go to. It's a real place. It's perfection beyond belief. This living here in this life is just temporary. And for people who do believe, if there's any doubt, all he says to you is, "Do you want to come home?" That is our home. Rest assured that we have a place there ready and waiting for us in heaven. And he has gone before us and prepared it. And if we are here on this earth, it's to share the good news of Yeshua and who he is and that he is real for those who want to listen, those who have ears to hear. That's what I'd like to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your story.
Thank you.